They cruelly mocked the poor cowboy buying fabric for his daughter. Then the wealthiest woman in the entire territory walked in and saw what they all missed. Her true love. Subscribe to Wild Sky Stories' new emotional tales every day. The bell above the door of Whitmore's General Store chimed softly as Jack Harrison pushed it open, his weathered hand gently guiding his 8-year-old daughter, Rosie, inside. Their boots, caked with dried mud from the long ride into town, left faint prints on the polished wooden floor. Jack's hat was faded from years under the relentless sun, and his shirt, though clean, had been mended so many times the original fabric was hard to distinguish from the patches. Rosie clutched her father's hand tightly, her eyes wide with wonder at the shelves, lined with colorful tins, jars of penny candy, and bolts of beautiful fabric. Her dress, sewn from flour sacks, hung a bit too loose on her small frame, but her face glowed with the innocent excitement only a child could possess. Behind the counter stood 3 women in elegant day dresses, their hair perfectly coiffed, jewelry glinting at their throats and wrists. Margaret Whitmore, the store owner's wife, stood beside her daughter Victoria and their friend Beatrice Cunningham, wife of the town's banker. They had been examining a new shipment of silk ribbons when Jack and Rosie entered. The conversation between the women died instantly. Margaret's eyes traveled from Jack's worn boots to his sun-damaged hat, her lips curling into a barely concealed smirk. Victoria whispered something behind her gloved hand, and Beatrice let out a delicate laugh that echoed through the store like breaking glass. Jack felt his daughter's hand tighten in his own. He straightened his shoulders and approached the counter with as much dignity as he could muster. "Good afternoon, ladies. I need to purchase some fabric, thread, and a few other supplies," Jack said quietly, his voice steady despite the obvious disdain in the women's eyes. Margaret made no move to assist him. Instead, she exchanged glances with her companions, her eyebrow raised in theatrical surprise. "Fabric, my dear man. Our fabrics are imported from San Francisco and Boston. I hardly think they're within your means." Rosie pressed closer to her father's leg, her earlier excitement evaporating, like morning dew under a harsh sun. "I have money," Jack replied, his jaw tightening slightly. "My daughter needs a proper dress for the schoolhouse. Winter's coming, and she needs something warm." Victoria covered her mouth, but her giggle escaped anyway. "Perhaps the Missionary Society has some charity items that would be more appropriate." "We're not asking for charity," Jack said, his voice quiet but firm. "We're here to make an honest purchase." Beatrice stepped forward, her expensive perfume creating an invisible barrier between them. "Mr. Harrison, is it? I've seen your little ranch on the outskirts of town. That sad collection of buildings barely qualifies as a homestead. Perhaps you should focus on feeding your daughter before worrying about her wardrobe." The words struck like a physical blow. Jack felt Rosie trembling beside him, and when he looked down, he saw tears beginning to pool in her eyes. His heart broke, not for the humiliation he endured, but for the cruelty being inflicted on his innocent child. "Come on, sweetheart," Jack whispered, beginning to turn away. "We'll find what we need elsewhere." But before they could reach the door, it opened, and a woman stepped inside. She was unlike anyone Jack had seen in Copper Ridge before. She wore a simple but well-made traveling suit in deep burgundy, and her auburn hair was swept up in an elegant but unpretentious style. What struck Jack most, however, wasn't her natural beauty, but the intelligence and kindness that seemed to radiate from her warm brown eyes. Elena Morrison had just arrived on the afternoon train from Denver, sent by her late father's law firm to settle an unexpected inheritance. She carried a leather satchel and a carpet bag, and she had stopped at the general store to ask directions. She immediately sensed the tension in the room. Her eyes moved from the proud, hurt expression on Jack's face to the tears threatening to spill from little Rosie's eyes, then to the three women whose faces still bore traces of cruel amusement. "I beg your pardon," Elena said, her voice cultured but warm. "I'm looking for directions to the Thornton property. I was told someone here might help me." Margaret's demeanor transformed instantly. The Thornton property was the largest ranch in the territory. Thousands of acres of prime grazing land with water rights that made it invaluable. "Oh my, are you a guest of the Thorntons? I'm Margaret Whitmore. Please, let me assist you." Elena smiled politely, but didn't approach the counter. Instead, she turned to Jack and Rosie. "I couldn't help but notice this young lady. What beautiful eyes you have, dear. They remind me of my own daughter when she was your age." Rosie wiped her eyes quickly, surprised to be addressed so kindly. Jack removed his hat respectfully. "Thank you, ma'am. We were just leaving." "Were you?" Elena's keen eyes had already assessed the situation. "I thought I heard you were looking for fabric." "What a coincidence. I need someone with knowledge of this area to guide me to the Thornton property, and I'd be happy to pay for your time and expertise. Perhaps you could help me, Mr. Harrison, ma'am." "Jack Harrison, Mr. Harrison, and this is your daughter, Rosie, ma'am." Elena knelt down gracefully to Rosie's level. "It's lovely to meet you, Rosie. I'm Elena. I've just arrived in town, and everything is so new and unfamiliar. It would mean a great deal to have a friend here. Would you be my friend?" Rosie nodded shyly, a small smile breaking through her sadness. Elena stood and turned to Margaret with a businesslike expression. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'll need several items before Mr. Harrison guides me to the property. Please show me your finest fabrics suitable for a young girl's winter dress, and not the charity items, if you please. The imported stock you mentioned." Margaret scrambled to comply, suddenly obsequious. "Of course. We have a beautiful wool blend that just arrived from Boston, and some lovely cotton prints from San Francisco." "Excellent. Mr. Harrison, you have an eye for quality, I'm sure. Would you help me select the right fabric for a dress for Rosie? I'd like to thank you in advance for your assistance with directions, and your daughter's friendship would be a gift to a lonely traveler." Jack understood immediately what Elena was doing, and pride warred with gratitude in his chest. "Ma'am, I can't let you, Mr. Harrison," Elena interrupted gently. "In my work, I've learned that help comes in many forms. You're helping me find my way in an unfamiliar place. Surely that's worth the price of some fabric and a bit of thread." Her eyes held his, and in them, Jack saw not pity, but genuine kindness, and something else he couldn't quite name. He nodded slowly. "I'd be honored to assist you, ma'am." For the next hour, Margaret and her companions watched in growing bewilderment as Elena treated Jack and Rosie with the utmost respect. She asked Jack's opinion on fabric quality, laughed delightedly at Rosie's shy observations, and purchased not just fabric, but boots for Rosie, supplies for Jack's ranch, and several other items. When Margaret tallied the substantial bill, Elena opened her satchel and removed a leather wallet. As she did, several official documents became visible, bearing the seal of Morrison, Fletcher and Associates, one of Denver's most prestigious law firms. Mrs. Whitmore, Elena said as she counted out the money. I trust you can have these items delivered to the Thornton Ranch by tomorrow? The Thornton Ranch? Margaret's face paled slightly. You're staying there. I am the new owner, actually. My late uncle, Samuel Thornton, left the property to me. I've come to take possession, and, likely, to make it my permanent home. I find I'm quite ready for a change from city life. The three women stood in stunned silence. Elena Morrison wasn't a guest or a visitor. She was now the wealthiest landowner in the territory, and they had witnessed her show more respect to a poor rancher and his daughter than she had to them. Elena turned to Jack. Now, Mr. Harrison, shall we discuss your payment for guiding me? I think a fair wage for your time and expertise, plus perhaps an ongoing arrangement. I'll need someone trustworthy to help me understand ranching in this territory. Someone honest, hardworking, and not afraid of a challenge. Jack's throat tightened with emotion. Ma'am, I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it. But first, please show me the way to my new home. As they left the store together, Rosie holding Elena's hand on one side and her father's on the other, the bell chimed again. Behind them, Margaret Victoria and Beatrice stood frozen, realizing they had made a terrible error in judgment. The ride to the Thornton Ranch took them past Jack's modest homestead. Elena asked to stop, genuinely curious about his operation. What she found impressed her. A small but meticulously maintained ranch with healthy cattle, well-repaired fences, and evidence of back-breaking work done with limited resources. You built all this yourself? She asked, walking the property with genuine interest. Yes, ma'am. After my wife Mary died 3 years ag. Oh, it was just Rosie and me. We've done our best. He paused, looking at his daughter playing with a barn cat. I wanted to give her a good life, a stable home. Some days, I wonder if I'm succeeding. Mr. Harrison, Elena said softly, that little girl adores you. She's clean, healthy, polite, and clearly loved. By any measure that matters, you're succeeding beautifully. Jack felt unexpected tears prick his eyes. Thank you for what you did in the store. Rosie didn't deserve their cruelty. Neither did you. Elena gazed across his modest ranch toward the vast Thornton property visible in the distance. I have a confession, Mr. Harrison. I didn't just randomly choose to help you. I recognized something in you. What's that, ma'am? Dignity. True dignity that comes from character, not circumstances. My father was a poor immigrant who built his law practice from nothing. He taught me that a person's worth isn't measured by their bank account or the fineness of their clothes, but by their integrity and how they treat others. She turned to face him directly. I meant what I said about needing help. The Thornton Ranch is massive, and I know nothing about running it. The current foreman is retiring, and I need someone I can trust. Jack stared at her. Ma'am, I'm honored, but there are experienced foremen who will see me as a wealthy woman to be managed and manipulated. I need someone who will tell me the truth, work beside me, and help me build something worthwhile. I need a partner in this venture, Mr. Harrison, not just an employee. Over the following weeks, Elena's offer became reality. Jack became the foreman of the Thornton Ranch, and with Elena's capital and Jack's expertise and work ethic, they began transforming it into one of the most successful operations in the territory. Jack moved into the foreman's house, a beautiful cottage on the property. Tay Hat was larger and finer than anywhere Rosie had ever lived. But something deeper than a business relationship was developing. Elena found herself watching for Jack each morning, her heart lifting when she saw him riding across the fields. She admired his quiet strength, his devotion to his daughter, and the gentle wisdom he brought to every decision. He never took advantage of her lack of knowledge, never spoke to her with anything but respect, and his rare smiles made her feel like she'd won a precious prize. Jack fought his growing feelings for weeks. Elena was educated, cultured, wealthy, and far above his station. But in the evenings, when she'd join him and Rosie for dinner, reading stories to his daughter, or laughing at his observations about the day, he felt a completeness he hadn't experienced since Mary's death. Elena never made him feel inferior. Instead, she seemed to value his opinions, seek his company, and bloom in the simple, honest life they were building together. Rosie, with a child's uncomplicated wisdom, loved Elena without reservation. She began calling her Miss Elena, and then, gradually, just Elena, and the bond between them grew naturally and strong. 3 months after Elena's arrival, the annual Harvest Festival brought the whole town together. Margaret Whitmore and her circle had been noticeably quieter since Elena's arrival, but they maintained their social position, albeit with less arrogance. At the festival, Elena arrived in a simple but lovely dress, accompanied by Jack in his best clothes and Rosie in the beautiful dress made from the fabric purchased that first day. They made a striking picture together, and the town noticed. When the dancing began, several wealthy ranchers and businessmen approached Elena, but she politely declined until Jack, gathering all his courage, offered his hand. "I'm not a fancy dancer, ma'am," he said quietly, "but I'd be honored if you take a turn with me." Elena's face lit up with genuine joy. "I can't think of anything I'd like more." As they moved together across the dance floor, the world seemed to fall away. Jack held her with careful respect, but the tenderness in his eyes spoke volumes. Elena felt tears threatening as she realized she'd found something she hadn't even known she was searching for. A home. Not just in a place, but with these people. Elena. Jack began, using her first name for the first time, his voice rough with emotion. "I need to tell you something. Yes, I know I'm not the kind of man you should be with. I'm just a cowboy, and you're a sophisticated lady from the city. But these past months with you, they've been the happiest of my life since Mary died. You've given Rosie and me so much more than employment. You've given us hope and joy, and I'm falling in love with you. I've probably already fallen. I know it's not appropriate, and I'll understand if you need to make changes to our arrangement, but I couldn't let another day pass without you knowing the truth." Elena stopped dancing, and for a moment Jack's heart sank, fearing he'd ruined everything. But then he saw the tears streaming down her face, and they weren't tears of dismay. "Jack Harrison," she said, her voice shaking. "I came to Copper Ridge, expecting to settle an inheritance and return to my empty life in Denver. Instead, I found something infinitely more valuable. I found a purpose, a place where I belong, and a family. You and Rosie have filled a void in my heart I didn't even realize existed. I love you both, not because of any arrangement or business partnership, but because you've shown me what truly matters in life." Jack's arms tightened around her. "Elena, are you saying?" "I'm saying that the poor cowboy everyone laughed at in the store is the richest man I know, wealthy in all the ways that actually matter. And if he'll have me, I'd like to spend my life proving that to him every single day." Around them, the dancing had stopped. The whole town watched as Jack Harrison, the man they dismissed and mocked, held the wealthiest woman in the territory in his arms, while she looked at him like he'd hung the moon. Margaret Whitmore, standing at the edge of the dance floor, felt shame wash over her. She judged Jack by his appearance and circumstances, never seeing the man he truly was. And Elena Morrison had seen what they all missed. True worth had nothing to do with the clothes a man wore or the size of his bank account. Jack cupped Elena's face gently in his work-roughened hands. "I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of you. You already are, my love. You already are." 6 months later, they married in a simple ceremony at the ranch, with Rosie as the flower girl and half the town in attendance. Even Margaret Whitmore came, bringing a beautiful handmade quilt as a wedding gift and a sincere apology for her cruel behavior. The Thornton Ranch, now the Harrison Ranch, flourished under their combined efforts. But more importantly, so did their family. Elena adopted Rosie formally, giving the little girl a mother's love and a secure future. And when, 2 years later, they welcomed a son, Jack held his wife and marveled at how his life had transformed. The people who had laughed at the poor cowboy and his daughter learned a lesson they never forgot. They learned that character cannot be measured by appearance, that dignity isn't dependent on wealth, and that sometimes the people we dismiss hold more value than we can possibly imagine. And Jack Harrison, once mocked and humiliated in a general store, knew that his true riches had nothing to do with the successful ranch or the comfortable life. His wealth was measured in the love of his wife, the laughter of his children, and the knowledge that he'd remain true to himself even when others tried to make him feel less than he was. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from proving others wrong, but from having the courage to remain steadfast in who you are until the right person comes along and sees your true worth.